Hey everyone. For today's topic, I want to discuss why men are fascinated by war. So this video will kind of be delving into male psychology because I imagine many women don't understand this at all because, from an outside perspective, it doesn't really make all that much sense, right? Like, why would anyone be fascinated by one of the most tragic and horrible, perilous things of human nature? Warfare, like our tendency to fight each other over resources and power. It doesn't make a lot of sense that anyone would find something like that admirable. But admirable may not even quite be the right word. So, what got me into even wanting to discuss this is because earlier today I was watching a YouTube video. I believe it was between Jordan Peterson and some other psychologist, and they were discussing how men have this tendency for aggression and how it can lead to men going to war and even sometimes enjoying war. And there was a comment that was, I've never seen anyone describe this concept in this way. So this comment made me want to make this video. It was by this gentleman who unfortunately only used his initials for his name, so I can't even really give him credit in any way that would allow people to know he said it. But he said something that was completely awesome. Let me share with you the quote that he wrote in a YouTube comment. He said, "Men don't long for war, but we long to know who we are when confronted by it." That's perfect. That's the best explanation I've ever seen for why men are fascinated by war. I even looked this quote up to see if he was like quoting someone else. No, he came up with it. I couldn't find any evidence that anyone else has ever said this before. But I was like, holy crap, this man captured this concept better than anyone I've ever seen. Because in my opinion, that properly explains why men are fascinated by war. It's not because they want to actually be in that perilous situation where they're having to fight for their own lives. No, most men, they're not going to find that something they'd want to be in, because why would you want to be getting shot at? Why would you want your life to be on the line like that? So I think he's right in his assessment that it's more so men wanting to know how they would show up during a time of war, whether or not they would actually be heroic or cowardly. So that to me explains this fascination with war that many men have, because we often know that war can both simultaneously bring out the best and the worst in men. For instance, some of the worst qualities it can bring out are cowardice, evil, men who are psychopaths or like masochists and whatnot. War can provide a playground for them to be very perverted and just evil. It can allow them to do those things they've always wanted to do that they can't do in civilized society. So that's a horrible aspect of war. It can also lead to extreme self-centeredness, where men make decisions that benefit them and solely them, sometimes even at the detriment of others, like torture or even the R word that you're not allowed to say on social media, but I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about there. Like, those are some of the most horrible aspects of war, that it can bring out the worst side of men. We know that, but it simultaneously can bring out the best in men. It can bring out courage and bravery. It can bring out extreme mental strength, men who are able to be put against unsurmountable odds and come out on top without breaking mentally. Men who, it brings out how cunning men can be with their strategy and their ability to basically play chess, but with people's lives, unfortunately. But it leads to their own side winning and less casualties on their own side. And when a man is strategic enough to basically plan out his warfare, he can actually even save the enemy's lives, should it be deemed admirable to do so, provided the enemy isn't evil, which usually is the case, but sometimes the enemy can be evil, like the Nazis. They were straight up evil. Now, don't confuse them for the actual German soldiers who were just fighting for their homeland and got pulled into it thanks to their ridiculous leadership and Hitler. But the Nazis themselves, they were certainly evil. The average German soldier, probably not. They weren't a Nazi. They probably didn't even know about the concentration camps and whatnot. So leave them out of them. But yeah, Nazis, evil. So if a general is strategic enough, he can save the lives of good men on the opposing side if he's able to get them to surrender because his strategy is just so good that they realize they've got no better option. So that's another good side of men that war can show. But it can also bring out brotherhood, which is an incredible thing because it brings out like that caring side of men, that side of men where they want to ensure that the guys staying on either side of them get home safe to their families. They want to do whatever is possible to do that. Heck, sometimes it leads to them being completely selfless. Like you hear the stories of men throwing themselves on grenades to save the lives of the rest of their team. Like that's crazy to think about. Many of us, logically thinking, we would probably not jump on a grenade to save others unless it's like people we really cared about, like our own children or something like that. But like, can you imagine doing that, making that kind of sacrifice? Like, it's crazy. But war shows that side of men that just, it's like complete selflessness. It's caring so much about those other people that you want, you value their life more than yours, and you want to make sure they get home safe. Now, I understand that there probably are some arguments to be made that that's actually not the greatest thing. I get that, like, because it obviously means that your own family and whatnot are now going to be screwed and be raised without a father. I get that, but still, it is an admirable quality when people can be selfless like that in situations where lives aren't on the line. That's a good thing. It can lead to almost a pure form of altruism where you're just trying to make humanity better over time. War can bring that aspect of men out. It's just unfortunate that, yeah, it's in a bad situation where lives are on the line. But my whole point here is that war can bring out really great qualities in men. It can show how men are able to rise up to the occasion and be heroes, pretty much, to defend people they believe are worthy of defending their homeland and the people who live within. I don't even get started on all the reasons why we go to war. I understand a lot of it's political BS and politicians wanting resources and power. I get that. I'm just making an argument of what war actually does when men are in it, because the men who go to fight, they're not responsible for the war being started in the first place, right? So all the cynical people who are going to be like, dude, why are you making war seem out to be great? I'm not trying to do that here. I'm merely talking about the psychological aspects of it and why men are so often fascinated by it, because they do wonder how they'd show up. They wonder if they'd be the kind of man who would be a hero, who would have insane mental strength while being put up against those crazy odds and that perilous danger, or whether they'd be a coward who would turn tail and run at the first sight of the enemy and danger. Men wonder that because we so often know, like deep down, we have to be rock solid for the people who rely on us and care about us, our family members, the women that we choose to enter into relationships with or maybe even get married to. We know at the end of the day, we have to be that rock for them. And if we can't be that, what are we doing, right? Like, what are we doing? So that's probably one of the main reasons why men are so fascinated by war, because they just want to know what kind of man they would be in the face of all that danger and chaos. So yeah, I really love that comment I read on YouTube by that gentleman. I mean, I really wish he'd put his full name or something, just because I've never seen anyone describe this concept like that before, and he pretty much nailed it, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my idea and his idea behind why, or my opinion and his opinion on why men are often fascinated by war. So hopefully this was an interesting video for you, an interesting psychological video that shows a bit about like male psychology, because yeah, I don't necessarily believe men want to glorify war, that they want to be in combat, but they do have that curiosity about how they would show up in it. And of course, they have that admiration for it bringing out the best in other men. But you'll often notice when men are praising war and whatnot from the past, they're not praising those people who do really bad things. They're not praising how it can bring out the bad side of men. They're only focused on the fact that it can bring out the good. So yeah, there you go. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like content like this, be sure to subscribe for more. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like on it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Arrivederci!